Hello and welcome back to coverage of Grand Prix Providence Round 6. Here Maria Bartholdi in the booth, joined by Marshall Sutcliffe. There you see our teams down in the feature match area. Both of our teams were watching this round, currently undefeated. Starting off on Table B, Martin Mueller versus Alexander Hayne.
Yeah, this is two big teams crashing into each other here relatively early in the day. We're in round 6. Still 3 more rounds to go after this one as well, 7, 8, and 9. And one of these teams is going to have a loss as we work our way into that later part of the tournament today on day 1.
Wanted Scoundrels kicking things off for Alexander Hayne here, a 4-3 for 2 mana. We've seen it do some work, and
Holy
here it goes.
You mentioned this combo earlier, Maria. This is a 2-3 that is very difficult to beat. He's now attacking with a 6-5 on the 3rd turn of the game.
No big deal.
In blue-black.
Wow, not something you normally see from very controlling colors in Magic. Frenzied Raptor here, the play from Mueller is going to get hostage taken immediately, and Alexander will smash in for another 6 points of damage.
Yeah, and I misspoke. It's a 6-4 there, which actually meant that Frenzied Raptor was one of the very few 3-drops in the game that could actually block that and trade. And that's why you see Alexander Hayne use the hostage taker there to get it out of the way and clear the bash for another 6, and that's game.
That's game.
That is just straight up GG.
Wow, that was incredible. Alexander Hayne just smashing with his blue-black tempo-oriented Pirates deck versus Martin Mueller, who could not get a foot down.
That was a turn 5 win, and not a turn 5 concession, win. That was a win. Like, he dealt lethal damage on turn 5 in sealed. That is a savaging.
Incredible. All right, let's check back in here. Table A, Brian Braun-Duin versus Mike Sigrist. 2 giant names in the game of Magic. We've got white-black for Sigrist and blue-black for BBD. Sigrist starting things off with just a 2-2 life-linking vampire, Bishop Soldier. Brian Braun-Duin matching up pretty well there, except not anymore. Imperial Aerosol will give that Bishop's Soldier +1/+1 and flying, but he does have a 2-3, which is able to attack and block thanks to 2 artifacts in play. Imperial Aerosol, just a great card.
Yeah, Imperial Aerosol has been really powerful. The Desperate Castaways has been overperforming a bit, and it does look decent here in that Brian has the ability to both attack and block with it, but there is a bit of a downside here for him in that he seems to have drawn a few too many creature augmenting type cards, which vehicles and equipment both fall into that camp, and it leaves him with not really that much to do if he isn't able to start attacking.
We're going to take out an Imperial Aerosaur here with a contract killing, netting BBD 2 treasure.
That was a smart play by Brian. He effectively relieves all pressure on his life total and sets himself up going forward with a lot of mana and all the colors you could want. So this could be a really powerful true turn sweep here for Brian as he's stabilized the board at a healthy 17 life and maybe even can untap and just start slamming haymakers and go over the top of whatever Sigrist is up to, which right now isn't much. Looks like Call to the Feast for him there.
Call to the Feast is going to make 3 1/1 life-linking vampires for Sigrist. And we'll pass back over to BBD.
If he can play something big, this is exactly where he wants to be. This is the type of board that the Dinosaurs deck tends to feast on. A bunch of small vampires on Sigrist's side, and no real way at the moment to take advantage of them by pumping them all up or getting a big advantage from them. And that means that Sigrist is vulnerable to attacks by very large creatures. Unfortunately for Brian, he can't do the very large creatures thing, but he can start getting in there with at least his vehicle. The Sleek Schooner.
Mm-hmm. How do you like that card, Marshall?
Not a lot, to be honest. It's weird, because looking at it, it looks actually quite good.
Crew 1.
Yeah, Crew 1 is the right price, and it's only 3 mana, and it can attack as a 4/3, but it's been underperforming a little bit, in my estimation. Not that it's a bad card, but just that it hasn't been really smashing like you would hope it would when you first see it.
Yeah, I think that 3 toughness is kind of a killer for the Schooner.
Yeah, that is a major weakness for sure.
All right, the Castaways are going to get in with a prying blade attached, hitting the red zone. If the prying blade connects, Brian Braun-Duin will net another treasure token. Sigrist takes the damage, another treasure for BBD, follows it up with a Ruthless Knave. 3-2 for 3, you can pay 2 and a black. Sacrifice a creature to create 2 more treasure. Sack 3 treasure, draw a card. So he does have a draw card on the table if he ever wants to use it.
You know, I wouldn't be surprised to see him do that this game. You know, he could have cast most anything that last turn by using the treasure. If he doesn't have something really powerful that he wants to cast with it, it might be correct to just cash those treasure in for a card. By the way, I have to say, you know, BBD has Prying Blade as well on the battlefield. And that's another card that really hasn't been performing particularly well.
Right.
It is just a bit too low impact to really be worth a card.
You probably want some treasure synergies if you're running it.
Yeah, definitely someplace to put those treasures, which he does seem to have. Is he going to draw a card here?
Yep, drawing a card.
Yeah.
Deathless Ancient was the play for Sigrist at the end of his turn there. It's a 4/4 flyer, which can be brought back from the dead by tapping 3 untapped vampires you control, which he has.
Yeah, he's actually got 4. So,
yeah.
You know, he does have even 1 to spare. Not bad. And it looks pretty good now.
Siren Lookout explores, finds a swamp for Brian Braun-Duin. Would you play a 1/2 flyer that draws you a land specifically when it enters the battlefield?
Probably.
Yeah.
But I'm much happier about having the option for a 2/3 flyer for 3 that gives me that.
It's kind of a scry.
Pseudo scry ability. Yeah, that's a card I'd play absolutely. And every time you get that with Siren Lookout, you feel like, yeah, I did it.
Yeah, you too. I didn't. It took me quite a long time playing this format before I actually got a +1/+1 counter on something.
Oh, you weren't
which is
running
kind
hot?
of unlikely. In comes the Deathless Ancient for 4 in the air from Sigrist.
Yeah, he's beating down.
No good blocks for BBD. Queen's Commission will get him another couple of vampires. And a Sky March Bloodletter will gain him a life and drain Brian Braun-Duin.
Yeah, good turns here for Sigrist. He just keeps on adding to his board. Right now, his only great attack is in the air for 4, but that's a lot of damage, and it does add up very quickly as you see that BBD's down to 12 already.
And this is exactly what the Vampires deck wants to be doing, right?
Yes, this is exactly it. And then in an ideal scenario, Sigrist finds a way to leverage all of these. So that comes in many forms. He can use a mass pump spell, an anthem effect.
Like Rallying Roar?
Rallying Roar is totally fine for that. You know, that's one of the good ways. If he has a Vanquisher's Banner in his deck, that gives he can name vampires and give them all +1/+1. And that's a pretty good way to do it as well. One of the cards that we saw was Sanctum Seeker. And I think that was Sigrist who had it, right?
I think so.
Yeah, it was it was a few rounds ago. But that's the kind of card that if he has that or draws it, he can play it. And look at all the vampires he's got. Even without attacking with Sanctum Seer itself, he's got 8 vampires that he turns sideways.
So sick.
Right, so that's drain BBD for 8. Then that's before blocks or combat damage have even happened yet.
That's got to be a card that Brian is thinking about. Sigrist potentially lining up his attacks here. Desperate Castaways once again hitting the red zone. That prying blade attached.
Yeah, it's fine. I mean, it's hitting for 3, and maybe Sigrist is a little concerned about letting him have any treasures just because the Ruthless Knave can eventually cash those in for cards, and that's something that could get him back into this. But beyond that, you know, Sigrist just doesn't particularly care.
Yeah, just trades off. Down goes the Sky March Bloodletter and the Desperate Castaways. Bishop's Soldier will remain alive.
Yeah, and that little block from Mike was kind of cool too because he does get to gain the 2 life. Prospus Prior's there from BBD.
More treasure.
Yeah, see, like this is where if Sigrist would have said, yeah, sure, I take it, then all of a sudden BBD gets another free card there.
Yep. That probably was among the things BBD was thinking about when he made that attack.
Yeah. In the meantime, Sigrist still has a safe attack with the Ancient. And if he wants, he can even line up something crazy if he's got a combat trick or something along those lines and just ship him in there. He's just not under any real pressure from BBD, who has two cards that are really underperforming right now. The Sleek Schooner and the Prime Blade just aren't doing enough for him. And even though it looks like he has a really well built out board, if you look at it, he's really only got 3 creatures.
Right. And there it is.
Oh,
Sanctum
there he is.
Seeker.
Boom.
Oh, boy.
I don't think that BBD can survive
1, 2,
this.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that's a drain for 7, a gain for 7 right off the bat. Four power in the air as well.
Yeah, that's going to have to get chump blocked.
This is going down as just the all-time payoff card for Vampires here.
So we have him actually at 5. We had him at 11, and I thought he should have taken 7 here, but perhaps we miscounted. So that means, though, that the flyer doesn't actually need to get chump blocked. But he's going to go down to 1 here. And that means that all Sigrist needs to do is just turn something sideways, and the game ends before blocks even happen.
Yep, he's going to pass the turn back, and
I don't see how Brian can get out of this, because he needs to kill Sanctum Seeker, but also have 5 blockers.
There's just no way.
Yeah, because again, he has an equipment and a schooner, neither of which count as a blocker. The schooner needs to get crewed, and in that case, it would be taking away another blocker. So it's just net negative or net 0 on that.
I suppose something like River's Rebuke.
Yeah, there you go.
I was trying to think of any way that he could dig himself out of that hole.
Yeah, that would have helped out a lot. It wouldn't have solved this problem permanently, but it would have meant he didn't die that next turn. And yeah, that's a good answer for it.
Mike Sigrist up a game over BBD. Hayne up a game as well over Martin Mueller.
It looks like he's going to win this one, too.
Whew. No permanence in play for Mueller. Looks like Hostage Taker took it to Shauna's Wayfinder, and she has joined the other team. Still no result from the Ruben-Blohon match. Pirates Cutlass once again showing just how strong it is, being automatically attached to that Hostage Taker as Haynes swings in. Just a Raptor Hatchling there for Mueller, which is a card I quite like, but he is up against it. Was able to get Haynes' life total down to 7.
Yeah, it looks like this is one of those games where Martin might have came out of the gates quickly and had a good start. And then slowly but surely, Alexander has stabilized this board and now, in fact, turned the tides right back on Martin. One of the good things, though, about the Red-Green Dinosaurs deck is that it is not like your typical aggressive deck where their top decks at this point in the game are just terrible. They often will have some pretty good stuff left in the tank here. Some big creatures, some good blockers.
Absolutely. Sailor of Means here is going to take the Pirate's Sword for Mueller's turn. Oh, 2 of them. I can just see him wielding 2 of the cutlasses.
2 cutlasses.
Shing, shing, shing. And there's a hand from Mueller. Alexander Hayne taking down that match, giving his team the first of 2 wins they need. We talked about a little bit earlier about how much Pirates Cutlass has really impressed us.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of it. I think it's very strong. It does exactly what I want to do in an equipment in that it augments my creature's power and toughness, specifically its power. And then on top of that, you even get that free equip, which is a really big tempo play the turn that you play it. I really think that's a good card.
Lucas Blohon versus Steve Ruben here. Blohon on black-white. Vampire Steve Ruben, green-red. Vance's Blasting Cannons in play. allowing a look at the top of his library every turn. Commune with Dinosaurs is the play here for Ruben.
Yeah, that's what he hit off of the Vance's blasting cannons this turn. You can see he's got a Forest Exile there that he had hit a prior turn. The problem, of course, with that is that you're not allowed to play lands off of the Vance's blasting cannons.
Right.
But that was a killer close-up on that Ceratops.
That was. I'm ready for my close-up, Mr. Sutcliffe. If you're able to cast 3 spells in a turn, you flip Vance's blasting cannons into Spitfire Bastion, which is just a savaging. 2 and a red to tap it, deal 3 to target creature or player. I played against somebody that was able to tap and untap that twice in a turn, thanks to Blossom Dryad.
Wow, that's nasty.
Yeah, I
Just
died.
throw around 6 damage a turn?
Mm-hmm.
Oof.
Captivating Crew here for Ruben as well.
And that was
And
actually
there's
his
the flip.
3rd spell of the turn, too.
Blohon's taking a look at that and says, nope, I don't think so. I'm at 6.
That was probably the only appropriate reaction for
Nope.
the Bastion there, which is just like, come on.
Come
Put
on.
that back in the sleeve.
Yeah.
I'll scoop him up.
That card's great. That's another one I'm really looking forward to playing with because it's just really fun to get free lightning bolts.
I just wonder if I'm ever going to want to actually transform it.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, you're effectively drawing an extra card a turn. You know, at that
you
point
are.
in the game, yeah, you can't play lands off of it, but if it's a land, you get it out of the way. And generally speaking, that's later in the game where lands aren't that important anyway. So I'm kind of like, can I just keep drawing an extra card every turn, or is that not cool? By the way, this is a rout. Look at this.
Yes, it is. I was just going to say, Team Sigrist-Hayne-Rubin all have W's. None yet for Team Braun-Duin-Muller-Blohon. I saw Sigrist and BBD having a little bit of a laugh down there at the end of the table. Well, they're getting ready to start their game 2. We've got some mulligan decisions being talked about there at the end of the table. You can see Hayne helping Ruben out a little bit. It's always interesting to me how people make their mulligan decisions. If they're the kind of person that says, I only need 1 more card to make this hand good, and it's probably a type of land. Do I keep it or do I throw it back?
And some people are like, yeah, it's fine, totally keep it, 100%.
Just
Other
1
people
more.
are
They're like, no,
what are you
throw
thinking?
it.
Get rid of it. Yeah. I'm much more likely to keep now.
So am I, actually, the more I've played Magic.
Yeah. I think that it's part of the benefit of having like a solid fundamental understanding of Limited is you build your decks such that, the cards that you play have impact on the game, and you make sure that you don't have too many kind of fluff cards that don't do anything. And you are actually, and you have a decent mana base and that kind of stuff, then your mulligans tend to reward you because, you have a good low curve, you can cast your spells, you're not being greedy with your splashes too much. And when you're just drawing those cards, you're more likely to be able to still impact the game. When you stretch those limits and you play a few too many cards that don't really do much or are very situational, or you splash a little bit too much, is when you find yourself in a position where you just can't do anything. You just don't get to cast spells, or if you do, they don't. We saw this like with Bakula. He had some unfortunate draws there, but we also saw that he was getting smashed, and his turn was Vance's blasting cannons go, and his opponent's like, sure, take 8, play a creature, go. And then he revealed from the Vance's blasting cannons Pirate's Prize, which is another kind of, it's a fine card, it's okay to put one in your deck, but it doesn't do anything the turn you cast it, and he just conceded.
Yeah.
And like he may have just drawn those ones, but those are the types of cards that you have to really kind of be careful about not overdoing it on. Else you will find yourself in a position where somebody who just plays a bunch of creatures just runs you over.
All right, let's look in at this game. Sigrist versus BBD, Inspiring Cleric here. Getting in for 3, Skymarch Bloodletter as well, able to attack in the air. We had a flash in there. Dreamcaller Siren. And a Fell Flagship for BBD.
Yeah, Dreamcaller Siren is the type of card you want to flash in when you can ambush a Skymarch Bloodletter. Ideally, that's your best case scenario for it. It can do some things, but they're all contingent on you being able to attack profitably for multiple turns. That's where Dreamcaller Siren excels, because it has this ability that if you control another pirate, you can tap up to 2 target non-land permanents, and that usually in limited means you're going to tap 2 of your opponent's creatures on their beginning of combat step, effectively locking them out from both attacking and blocking for a turn sequence, but you need to be able to capitalize on that to make it really good.
And there we see the Dreamcaller crewing the Fell Flagship, which is forcing Sigrist to discard a card. We see the planes in the graveyard over there.
Yeah, he decided to give up 1 point of damage. The Siren is a pirate, so it's actually getting pumped from the flagship for 4. But in exchange, he got to make Sigrist discard a card, and that's an easy decision.
Oh, absolutely.
Definitely would take that.
Call to the feast here, the follow-up for
Who's
Sigrist.
Hungry?
Oh, these vampires are, evidently.
You called me to the feast earlier today, and then instead of a bounty of human blood, you gave me some chicken tenders.
Yeah. Sounds like a GP to me, Marshall.
Yeah, we're here.
It's comforting knowing that I know what I'll eat every single day when I come to a GP, no matter the city.
Yeah,
Always
even if you
chicken
know
tender.
it's bad.
Yep.
Ooh, is that a treasure map?
Ooh, yum. Tim over on Card Viewer has.
Pretty good.
I didn't know that was a card.
I never heard of that card either. It's pretty great. Tim's officially better at this than Kenji.
Ooh, the hat has been thrown. Treasure map in play now for BBD, which is a really cool card.
Yeah, that's a neat one.
You scry, and once you've got 3 scries with treasure map, it flips over into Treasure Cove. Sacrifice a treasure, draw a card, and you get 3 treasures for your trouble as well. Just really excellent design. Very flavorful and good card too.
Yeah, one thing that I like to think of, even though I don't think it's like core to the design, is, sometimes when we say scry, you're digging through your deck.
Yeah.
So I'm digging for treasure.
Yeah, yeah.
I found it, by the way.
And then you find it.
Yeah.
Pling.
And what better treasure could you possibly give somebody in the game rather than just drawing a bunch of cards, basically spending the treasure?
Remember when I asked you what the 3 best words in Magic were, and you said it's obviously draw a card, and I said no, it's attack for lethal.
Yeah, I do remember that. Yeah, you got me there. I still argued with you after that.
Oh yeah, I think
that it might be better to just draw more cards.
I'll die, sure, but I'm gonna go out drawing cards while I do it.
Yeah, that's the discussion we had.
Sigrist coming in for attacks here. We've got a Desperate Castaways who's able to jump in front of one of those vampires pretty handily.
This is going to be Vampire
Zeal.
Yep. Card's proven itself to be quite good in this deck. It usually lets you win combat and not let your opponent win combat. That's the really key, right? Is that it's not just bringing you to a trade scenario, but it's letting you win.
Exactly. The first strike boost is really important.
It is. And for only 1 mana.
1 mana.
And if you had a trick that was your creature gets +2/+2 and first strike for 1 mana, that is above the curve.
Yeah, it is. So BBD is just going to pass back here.
Yeah, he's trying to hang on, but he's in a really bad position, mainly because, again, he's playing a little bit too much nonsense. The treasure map, the Fell Flagship's doing reasonable work for him because it is his only blocker down on the ground. But it's a thin line here that he's trying to walk. Now, if he can hang on, though, and get that treasure map transformed and start cashing it in, he can really overwhelm Sigrist. It's just BBD's trying to play the control route in this game, but he's got vehicles and equipment in his deck and stuff like that, which can make it difficult to do.
Yeah, Sigrist here you just see he's able to just swing in with the team kind of with impunity. The Dreamcaller will crew up the Fell flagship.
And BBD actually has to decide if he'd like to trade or eat up a vampire.
He will jump in front of the Inspiring Cleric there with the boat.
It's got to be weird to be that Inspiring Cleric and just literally run into a boat on a battlefield.
That's what I was just thinking.
Yeah.
Bizarre. Skullduggery, the play here from BBD, going to give his
big play.
Boat +1/+1, -1/-1 to a vampire.
That's right. So if this goes through, he gets to kill a vampire and kill... Ooh, another vampire zeal, though, for...
Brutal.
Sigrist is a pretty big turnaround. He still loses a token, but he gets to, as we mentioned before, win that combat by getting back up to 3 power, and the first strike is going to kill.
All right, Queen's Commission.
Boat down.
Another 2 vampires there for Sigrist. And here comes the third scry for BBD. Treasure map about to flip. He's about to land on that island where there's plenty of treasure chests ripe for the taking.
Oh, it's a good place to be.
Oh, yeah, I bet it's nice. There's probably some palm trees. Yeah, look at that. A knife in the ground. Classic Treasure Cove.
I like the mountains.
It is pretty. Instagram that.
Yeah. No filter.
I've got to say, the set has definitely made me reconsider my life choice to not become a pirate, Marshall.
Yeah, you definitely made that mistake.
Looks great. BBD taking a long time on this scry.
You can knit a hell of a scarf, though.
I sure can.
I can't take that from you. Yeah, this is definitely when somebody's leaning over your shoulder and saying, okay, if we keep this, do we put that on the, you know.
Oh, yeah.
Because there's no way that BBD's just staring at this card by himself for this long.
Team spirit.
Yes, sir.
Indeed.
Look at Elmer.
Elmer looks so majestic there.
He's on the team.
Treasure Cove flips.
Whoa, I like that.
The treasure just rains down.
That's great.
BBD has to win this game in order to keep his team alive. Meanwhile, Steve
Unfortunately,
Ruben,
that's true for all the games.
Also battling against Lucas Blohon.
Oh.
All right.
Oh,
and that'll do it. Actually, Steve Ruben beating Lucas Blohon 2 games to 0, and they're just going to scoop him up here. Team Sigrist-Hayne and Ruben defeats Team Braun-Duin-Muller and Blohon.
I don't know if you saw that, too. These guys all know each other.
Yeah.
Sigrist also put lethal down the next turn.
Did he?
Yeah, he counted up and said, so you're dead? So they got the clean 6-0 sweep.
Wow, look at that.
That is just unreal.
That is a thing of beauty to look at there.
Man.
2-2-2.
Get your losses out of the way all at once, I suppose, because they just ran into the buzzsaw.
Wow. That feels so great when your team's just able to wrap it up like that.
Get a look at Martin Mueller. He's talking to his teammate, Lucas Blohon, and looking about as European as you possibly could. Got the pop collar.
All right, well, that was great. We've got some more magic for you coming up after these messages.